The March 9, 2016 City of Missouri City Planning and Zoning Commission meeting is hereby called to order. We do have a quorum with us on tonight. We are missing Commissioners Goff, Haney, Rose, and who else?
That's it.
That's it. But 5 makes a quorum? Sounds good to me. Rose.
Yes. Gaspar.
Gaspar.
That's right.
Gaspar. Is there a motion that we accept the minutes from February 10?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any abstentions? Okay. He will abstain.
You will.
Thank you so much. Reports, Chair, I have no report. Commissioners, do you have a report? Anyone? Okay, thank you. Staff reports. The executive contractor is not with us on tonight. Okay. Jennifer?
I just have a few announcements. There we go.
Okay.
I just want to remind everybody about the CDBG applications that are open now for public service agencies or people who are doing public projects starting July 1st on. And so those applications are still being submitted, and we'll receive those until Friday, this Friday, March 11th. And then the scholarship program, those applications are now available as well. So for students in the Missouri City area who come from low to moderate income households and who are graduating this year from high school and or are full-time students at a vocational school, community college, or university, they could be eligible for that scholarship reimbursement program. So those scholarships are now available. Those applications for the scholarships are available on the city's website or by visiting the Development Services office to acquire the application. So please pass that word along, and those applications will be taken until April. And then I just want to give an update on the comprehensive plan update process. We had the symposium, the public symposium on February 18th, and we had an estimated 300 people in attendance at the symposium. It was very well attended. It was a great collaboration with city departments in the newly renovated community center, and our communications team did a phenomenal job in the setup for the event and partnering with local businesses to help provide resources for the event. So this is some images that were taken during the public symposium. We had Dr. Stephen Kleinberg, as we've discussed, who gave a presentation on the larger picture view of our region, demographics and preferences of residents within the Houston region and the Fort Bend County area. We had a Fort Bend ISD senior who is doing a capstone project on hunger issues, and she gave us a very short presentation. She did a remarkable job with that presentation, and then participated in an art workshop later that weekend in the Sugar Land area. And so we were very happy to have her be a part of our symposium. We had information boards that our consultants provided, providing information on the presentations that night. And I was very glad to see how many citizens and attendees went over and took a look at the boards. We had feedback boards, and lots of people participated, gave comments. We will have these boards available around the city over the next month or so for people to continue to provide feedback through this process. And so, public, if you see the boards, feel free to put your input in terms of land use, transportation issues, the future development and growth of Missouri City. And then I want to acknowledge publicly the business partners that donated refreshments and provided services. We had a phenomenal response from our local businesses. Soto's Kitchen provided refreshments. They have 2 locations in Missouri City, one on Dulles in the shopping center and one also on Highway 6 in the Siena area. And they provided refreshments. Rich Food Products, our industrial partner over here in Lakeview Business Park, donated cheesecakes that I think were very well received. And then HEB has a strong community partnership and also donated refreshments and were on hand during the event. We also had Phoenix Design Group that helped with the setup. They provided materials for the setup Scanlon signs. If, we showed pictures of the lime green signs that our city sign shop made, but Scanlon Signs also donated several signs to help publicize the event. So I just encourage everybody, there is a survey that is open that we are receiving public feedback on. The project website is up and running. It's www.showmecity.com. The survey is linked from that project website, so I just encourage everybody to check out the website. We will have responses to the feedback that we received from the symposium, as well as the video of the symposium and presentation materials from the symposium available on the website. So just encourage the public to follow along with the process. They can provide feedback through the website, or you can provide feedback through the website, and we just, want to get the word out to everyone. So those are the comments that I have for tonight.
Thank you.
No report.
Very well. I need to back up to the minutes, and I just wanted to ask a question. Was Councilmember Maroulis here? Am I saying it right?
Yes.
He was here.
He was?
He was here.
He
Oh,
was
I-
here. Okay, thanks. All right. Well,
Sorry.
sorry.
Remember
I just
Preston.
didn't want to not
That's good.
acknowledge him.
Good catch.
Okay, this is an opportunity for public comment. If there is anyone in the audience that'd like to speak with the commission in regards to matters that are not on the agenda, now's the chance. Is there anyone? Seeing no one, thank you. Item 6, the plats. A, under consent agenda, will consider approval of a final plat for Avalon at Sienna Plantation, Section 2. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Item 7, zoning map amendments. We'll take A first. This is a public hearing to receive comments for or against a request by Jiju Thomas to amend the regulations and restrictions of PD number 11 to allow for LC2 uses within an 0.845 acre tract of land which is presently restricted to restaurant use.
Good evening, Commission. As you said, this is an application to amend the regulations of PD 11. PD 11 is located along Highway 6, north of the intersection of Highway 6 and Lake Olympia Parkway, adjoining on the northwest side to the Fort Benning ISD bus barn. The applicant has met all the requirements of a PD amendment application. To give a little background on PD 11, the PD was established in 1998 to allow for a self-storage facility, a restaurant, and LC2 uses on 3 specific tracts. So if you look at the ortho, we have a self-storage facility which is allowed on the tract wrapping around the remaining part of the PD. Then the subject side, which is highlighted in yellow, was designated for a restaurant use, and the central tract was allowed for LC2 uses. Today, PD 11 includes the public storage facility, shopping center with dentist office, restaurant, and daycare. And then on the subject side, we have the old Burger King restaurant building, which is presently unoccupied. The applicant intends to renovate and use the existing old Burger King restaurant on subject side for a proposed grocery store and cafeteria. Now, the PD 11 presently restricts the use of that tract only for restaurant uses, and therefore the applicant is requesting this amendment. In analyzing the subject site, staff finds that the general location of the site being along Highway 6 is consistent with the city's purpose of locating LC2 uses. Since the subject site is not in close proximity to any residential subdivisions, no environmental conflict is anticipated. We find that PD 11 already allows for LC2 uses in the adjoining tract. And looking at the zoning history, we find that the reason for restricting that tract for restaurant uses was not based on any site-related factors or parameters. It was generally because the development plan that was provided at that point of time identified that tract for a restaurant. We find that the proposed amendment is in conformance with the city's comprehensive plan as well as the future land use map, and therefore staff recommends to approve the amendment to PD 11 to allow for LC2 uses within the subject site. Staff further recommends to amend the ordinance in order to change some of the exhibits contained within that ordinance for more clarity in terms of the boundary of PD 11 as well as the permitted uses. And I would like to expand a little bit on that because there were a couple of amendments that happened, and because of that, some of the exhibits that got into the ordinance is kind of mismatched, so we would like to fix that at this point. And as an afterthought, I would also want to mention something that is not included in the report. LC2 district allows for outside storage. Now, this proposed use being a grocery store, staff also recommends that a provision for outside storage consistent with the LC2 retail district be included in the proposed amendment. And just to give an idea about what that is, I think LC2 retail district allows outside storage as long as it is well screened with a masonry wall on the side which is in view from a public right-of-way, and at least landscape in areas where it is not visible from a public right-of-way. That should be it. And we have representatives of the applicant here, if you have any questions of the applicant.
Okay. Thank you. Good job on the report. Do you guys have any questions of staff?
No.
Would you like to hear from the applicant?
Not
Briefly?
to change my decision.
Okay. Would the applicant like to step and say a few words? It is a public hearing. Oh, come on up. If you say no. Hi, sir. Would you state your name?
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Aaron Matthew. I'm representing, there are five partners for this project. We are planning to open a grocery store and cafeteria there, and it is proposed to, the scheduled closing date for this purchase will be next month, and we are planning to start in May or June.
Great. How long do you think it'll take you to get it open?
Maybe in two months.
Okay, very well. Anyone else have any questions of this gentleman? Not really? Okay, thank you so much, sir.
You're
Nice
welcome.
to meet you.
Thank you.
As this is a public hearing, is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to speak to this project?
Make
Seeing
a motion,
none.
we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Is there a motion to forward this with a positive recommendation on to council?
Do we need to?
With the addition.
The
Oh, I was gonna
amendment?
say, do we need to include that in the?
To
motion?
include that, yes, to include the outdoor storage
Provision,
uses.
yes.
So moved. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Item 7B, it's a public hearing for a PD. We received comments for or against a request by Kevin Polasek of Terra Associates, Inc. to rezone an approximate 1.483 acre tract of land from LC2 to a PD.
All right, good evening. This is an area right across the street from where we're at, next to Unity Bank and across from where the proposed HCC campus is under construction today. And Discount Tire is looking at this tract and seeking to develop it for one of their franchise locations. The request is to rezone it from LC2 to a planned development district as opposed to a straight LC3, which would allow for automotive accessory uses such as tire sales or other automotive accessories. The staff report outlines that the proposed use, and I am in the wrong report. Hold on. Give me 1 second. This is along one of our major corridors in an older part of our community that we have been looking at redevelopment opportunities for a while. And so this is one of those areas where the comprehensive plan discusses looking at our need to support redevelopment activity and possibly encourage market-responsive development in areas where we're seeing underutilized land. Staff believes that this is one of those parcels and are seeking to create a PD in order to expand the uses that are permitted within this parcel but also providing provisions for protection for the residential areas that are immediately surrounding this parcel. What staff is recommending is for the PD to allow for the continuation of the LC2 uses, which are neighborhood service type uses, but extend the uses that are permitted to also allow for retail stores, and also include tire, battery, and other automobile accessory and sales to be permitted within the tract. That's qualified by the other recommendations included in the report. As you're probably familiar, Discount Tire recently constructed on Highway 6. They've been open for a little over a year, I think, and so this development would be very similar to the development that they did on Highway 6 near Trammell Fresno, near the Sienna area, in terms of architectural design and site development. The applicant has submitted elevations for what this proposed store would look like. And so it's generally consistent with our architectural standards. We have called out asking that they define what the visible roofing material will be, and have had a preliminary conversation with the applicant, and they intend to do that, and so that should be consistent with what our requirements are. So the building design, what they're proposing at this location is generally consistent with what we would require anywhere else. The site plan that has been provided, including a preliminary landscape plan, shows where, and you can kind of see the odd shape of this track with that little carve out that kind of forms like a triangle near the bottom of this track. That's the side that's adjacent to the residential area. The opposite side of that is Texas Parkway. So what the applicant is proposing is, and I know you really can't make it out on this plan, but there's about 43 feet of undeveloped space between that rear property line that adjoins the residential areas and where any kind of pavement or structures would be located. So all of that area would be considered their transitional buffer yard between the two uses. So this is enhanced greater than what we would typically require if it developed in accordance with LC2 standards, which would only require a minimum 20-foot buffer. And so the staff recommendation is to lock it in as the provision of a minimum 43-foot buffer in width in that area. All of the associated landscaping, as you see, the trees as required within that buffer are shown and would be provided for. The applicant is proposing to provide an 8-foot tall wooden fence along the perimeter. Typically, we require masonry fences. However, we do have an exception when the uses adjoin along a utility easement or along a public-private street that's at least 40 feet in width. So staff has recommended that they be allowed to do a 8-foot wooden fence along the stretch in lieu of a masonry fence. There are wooden fences along that entire stretch that exist today, including behind the Unity Bank and including behind the Child Care Center that is to the north of this tract. And so it would be consistent with what exists. They would propose a new fence to be added. And so part of our recommendation is to have the applicant work with those property owners so that we don't have two double fences and creating an unmaintained area in between. This is part of the additional considerations that staff has considered based on the comprehensive plan to look at allowing more intense uses on this tract, but trying to provide additional protection for the residential uses that adjoin that property. The applicant has also submitted a preliminary proposal for a monument sign. And the applicant has indicated the sign that they submitted does not quite meet our sign regulations. in terms of an encasement and an encasement matching the primary building. And so the applicant, I believe, will make revisions to that sign to bring it into conformance with the city's regulations. So the recommendation is not to provide a deviation, but just to apply the same standards that we would apply in any part of the city. We have had a discussion with the applicant concerning the provision of a masonry fence or a masonry wall in lieu of the wood fence, which is staff's recommendation. The applicant would have to go through the corporate discount tire office on whether or not that could be provided, but we can have that conversation with the applicant tonight if there's any desire to. Otherwise, staff is recommending to approve this planned development district and to expand the uses to allow for those 2 additional uses. And then also to, I failed to mention, also to decrease the number of planting islands and diamonds as, to what is shown on this site plan. And all of that is based on increasing the buffer yard, increasing the area that they don't plan to develop on the site. So making those modifications to what would typically be required. And that is staff's recommendation.
It's a good presentation. The one thing I mean, number one, it's exciting to get that area, get the momentum going, especially with the campus going across the street. The masonry wall gives a really good sound buffer, and an impact wrench makes a very distinct sound. And the homes that are adjacent to that, they already have a fence there. Having a second one may be just, you know, the same as a masonry fence, but a masonry fence, I don't know. That would really provide a sound buffer, because it would be from the minute. Well, let me put it this way, all the technicians have earplugs in.
Right.
So you know that the sound is going to travel, and if I own the lots all adjacent to that property, I'm excited about the redevelopment, but I'm a little nervous about the sound starting at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
Till 7 o'clock at night.
And I will say, just a very preliminary conversation, the applicant may bring this up as well if he comes to the podium, but some of the complications with the masonry wall are one, they have to pass that through the corporate office in terms of the cost feasibility of that element. The other issue is there are some utility easements along that rear property line that they would also need to coordinate with the utility in terms of the placement of that structure within those easements and ensuring that they have authority to encroach on those easements. I think it's a lesser issue with the wooden fence in terms of, you know, being able to access, continued access to those easements. And so it's more of a coordination. It's not the inability for them to do it. It's just more of a coordination that needs to take place.
Is there some latitude on other requirements that they have to do that maybe we don't consider a priority?
I think the latitude in the staff report is reducing those planting islands and diamonds in the parking area as what would be required. And then that gives them greater mobility on the interior of the site to be able to move cars around without having those kind of blockages. And then, you know, on the provision of extending the uses that are permitted, because we're taking what would be neighborhood uses, neighborhood commercial uses, typical, you know, personal services, things like that, and expanding it to allow for retail stores and automobile uses. So it's more intense on that track. And so the takeaway right now, what they've given is the increased buffer width and moving the active areas of the development closer to Texas Parkway.
And that easement is phone and cable?
I believe it's storm sewer easement, and I'll let the applicant come up. I believe it's storm sewer easements and other utilities that are in there. I think it's public utility easements.
So is the 43 feet the narrow area? So it goes 43 and then expands even deeper?
Just, can you put that site plan back up again?
Because I counted here, it's 38.
I'm sorry.
That's
the most narrow part.
That's what it looked like to me was 38.
38, yeah.
So you have, there's,
So at the north I guess that's kind of the north side. You've got the hatched area, looks like from the flat, 38 feet. And then, obviously, that little triangle area is much deeper.
Right. The triangle is, and on average, I would say it's 43 feet. So you have the, let's see, I'm trying to find the measurement on here. Okay. Do you have, come on up to the podium.
Good evening. Kevin Plasik, Terra Associates, civil engineer for the project. A couple of questions that y'all are trying to get answered on the 43 feet. That is the minimum on the narrow end. You've got the 15 feet from the property line to the edge of whatever detention is. You've got another 23.6 feet going across there, and then another 5-foot buffer to the edge of the parking. So you got 43 feet there. That's at the worst case, and then as you go into the strip, it gets wider.
How far is the building from that?
The actual
43 feet?
building is about
80 feet.
about 80 to 85 feet away from the actual property line.
And the last bay?
That's the number I gave you, because if you continue on, do you have the dimensional control plan that you can put up, or?
The which one?
You can. So you'll see to the first bay, you have another, or the last bay, you'd have another 44 feet. So you're around close to
100 feet.
90 feet from the actual property line to your first.
And the bays obviously point to the south. They open to the
That's-
south, right?
yes, sir.
Right. They face Unity Bank.
Yes, sir. And if you want to go back to the question on the utilities back there, there's a 16-foot total easement, 8 feet on the residential, 8 foot on our side, and that's shared for really any public easement because it was dedicated by plat. But you do have overhead power, so CenterPoint's got the right back there. You've got cable and TV that would be back there, and you have a sanitary line, which is regulated by the MUD district. That's probably the bigger concern with having the masonry wall, because you would have to have a grade beam on that height once you get to an 8 foot. Typically, CenterPoint does not require an encroachment agreement if you're doing a wood fence, but once you go to masonry, you do have to go through the actual application for an encroachment agreement on that.
I mean, is there data that you use when determining sound reflection?
As a civil engineer, no, but there are people out there that can do that. That is correct.
So were you thinking 80 feet plus 40 feet, 100 feet?
Well, my experience with the one down in Missouri City that I go to is that last bay is the one that's probably the least used, and it backs up to a neighborhood also. And I swear it's probably that long distance too. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, I get the feeling that sound is not going to be that big an issue that far away. And plus, the fact that they did place the building where the bays were pointing south, that's going to help too. It's not like they had them, pointing back to the neighborhood.
It's pointing towards the bank, then, right?
And we do have a representative here, Marty Mendoza with Discount Tire. He actually kind of maintains them after they're built all throughout Houston. So, I mean, he's there day to day. I'm kind of the upfront guy that goes through permitting and kind of out of it. So he has more day-to-day activities that he can help answer too if y'all have got those questions as far as hours of service, when they start, do they use the last bay that much? He'd be the better guy to answer that.
Mr. Haney, you're correct about that. That last bay rarely gets used for working on cars. We'll probably do a repair there or an air check back there. And the first 3 bays are the ones we utilize for the guns, the impact guns and stuff like that.
Marty, can you just say your name real quick? So we have-
Martin Mendoza?
Martin.
Yes, sir.
In maintaining the other facilities, do you ever have residents complain about the sound, or at least did you at the beginning when you opened up on the Highway 6 store?
No, we've never had that.
Okay.
Does the Highway 6 store have a?
No.
Okay.
It's
a
pretty
wooden
far
fence?
away.
Yeah, it's along Highway 6, and then you have public storage in the Huntington
they're
behind it,
separate.
yeah.
Which one are we talking about though?
Well,
One to the north is the one that's closer
yeah,
to.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
talking
the
about the
one,
newer
the one right there, I guess it's actually in Sugar Land, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one
Yeah.
I go to, and that's the one that there's a neighborhood
Yeah.
right behind it.
Right.
And I'm guessing that it's not 100 feet
Right.
from that one.
Right.
Same.
Because I know, and on that backside is typically where they do all their storage, so they do get the deliveries back there. That's where they have the delivery trucks go, but, you know, that's probably pretty infrequent compared to, you know, the car traffic through the bays.
Anyway, the noise ordinance here is that they can't have anything past, what, 85 or 90 decibel to the property line, so,
Right.
I mean,
It'll-
this is not traffic, it's a little different.
Yeah, we have, those controls are in place for the commercial areas.
Well, it's actually pretty arbitrary. If noise imposes an inconvenience or disturbance to the person hearing it.
Okay, John.
That's what it says. Every time I read it, I just gotta shake my head thinking.
Well,
City of Houston has something similar.
Well, from a personal opinion, I'm glad that you guys chose the Missouri City FM 2234 corridor to bring a national brand over there. I think it'll definitely spark some interest, so thank you for that. It seems like the project is okay. Do you have any comments about the sign? Because the sign was, it did come to us with a negative recommendation. Do you have a problem with changing it?
The sign, the actual
monument sign.
monument sign?
Right.
No, I mean, we're going to do whatever we're asked to do on the sign.
Okay.
I thought of course, it may have been different sign company, but I thought it was the same sign we did on the last one, but it could be a new sign company, but no, we'll follow what
We
we
want
need
more
to.
brick around it.
On
And it can't be red and white.
the monument sign.
You're backtracking, don't.
Oh, I'm going back to the old days.
Primary colors, can't be that.
Did you guys have any other comments in regards to staff's comments or anything, any questions for us?
No, I mean, the comments that Jennifer had given us are pretty straightforward. I've already talked with her to make sure we're not overlooking anything she's asked us to change, and we plan on making those changes before the 22nd to get them back to her. The only thing that came up, like Jennifer said, was late this afternoon. She had asked me about the masonry wall, and I said I definitely got to get with their corporate office for pricing on that, but there would be other hurdles, even if we agreed to it, that we've got to get through before we could do that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Guys, did y'all have any other questions of the applicant?
Not yet.
But, right, I'll get to it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much. Marty, thank you.
As this is a public hearing, is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak in regards to this project? Okay.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, that motion carries. Is
Make a
there-
motion, we submit this to city council with a positive recommendation, leaving the wood fence in.
In place.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? And the motion carries. Y'all wanna talk about anything else tonight?
Had to go to Discount Tire this week.
You
Had
got-
the misfortune of walking out and finding a screw in the side of my tire,
Yep.
my 2-month-old tire.
And that probably was not
Had
under
to buy a
warranty.
brand new one.
Yes, because that was not under
On
warranty.
the side, right?
It was on the
Well,
side.
it was right in the corner.
There you go.